What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 fades for this week's ZOZO Championship, and I gotta tell you, I think these are a little bit spicy, and it's not my goal to come here with hot takes. I just think that I can offer a different perspective for this week. There are some guys that I think maybe the industry might be a little bit warmer on than I am, but at least let me offer a different vantage point, and then you can come to the decisions yourself of which side you would like to take. A quick reminder, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, we'll do the ZOZO Championship live chat. That's ownership, it's answering questions, it's final thoughts, final look, all that good stuff on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel. So make sure to tune in for that. But without further ado, let's jump into this week's fades. Fingers crossed. This makes me a little bit nervous, but let's start at the top of the board with Xander Schauffele. He is 11-1 to win the ZOZO Championship, and he's the most expensive golfer on DraftKings at 11,200. And if you look at his recent form, it is completely warranted for him to be the most expensive golfer. I think it's very clear he's the hottest player on the face of the earth since basically the restart, right? It's not particularly close, but I have a little bit of concern for a few reasons with Xander Schauffele. One, the cat's out of the bag, right? Everyone knows what he's doing. He's in the midst of a run where, he finished second at the Tour Championship, but he won it with the without the starting strokes. If everybody started at even, he had a top 5. He finished 5th at the U.S. Open, and then he, almost might feel like he should have won at the CJ Cup, but finishes second to a scorching hot Jason Kokrak. So it's been just an unbelievable run of golf. But my concern is a couple of things. If you dig deeper and you look at how he has played in those last 3 events that I just referenced, well, his short game, he gained 10.5 strokes in his short game, so that's around the green plus putting at Shadow Creek. He gained over 11.5 at the U.S. Open, and he gained nearly 9 at the Tour Championship. So we're talking about 3 of his best 4 short game performances ever were in the last 3 weeks. That's concerning. I mean, Xander has a great game. We talk about how there's never any holes in his game. He's solid everywhere. But what we've seen, especially with the flat stick, the putter, over the course of his last 3 starts, like when you slot those into, his career performances, they're 3 of his 4 best putting performances ever. I think he's a great putter. I just don't envision that continuing at that rate. Additionally, I think I mentioned ownership. I think his ownership gets pretty high because it's very clear he's the best player on the planet right now. But this is the highest price tag he's ever had, 11,200. So now we're at absolute critical mass with Xander Schauffele, who is probably going to be popular. He's the most expensive. He's putting out of his mind. Like, I'd be very impressed, and I think he's going to contend, but he's going to have to probably win this thing, finish in the top 3 to pay himself off at that number. And I think there's a bit of regression coming with the flat stick. So for that reason, I don't want to say I'm out on Xander, but I'm definitely going to be significantly underweight on him in a lot of my GPP lineups. Next up is Rory McIlroy, and this is probably the one I'm not as thrilled about as a fade. I think he's a really great GPP pivot, but I'd be lying if I said I don't have a lot of concerns about Rory McIlroy at the moment. And I've been kind of documenting this over the course of, I guess, the last 3 months or so, where before the Tour shutdown, we remember Rory McIlroy was one of the hottest players on the face of the earth. He was just piling up top 5 finishes, and he was doing it with just a great ball striking game, and his approach numbers were eye-popping. He was gaining basically a stroke per round on approach. It was phenomenal stuff. Well, since then, since the Tour has come back, he's been pedestrian. He has been basically an average PGA Tour player on approach over his last 11 starts. We're now up to 11 starts after the restart for Rory McIlroy, and CJ Cup, Shadow Creek, was his worst performance in almost 2.5 years in strokes gained approach. So I could make the argument that it's not going to be as bad as it was last week, and Rory McIlroy can snap out of this at any moment, and the rest of his game is so strong. But I'm really I'm almost in shock that we've now gone 11 straight weeks, or 11 straight starts. Excuse me, I should specify that, for Rory McIlroy, where he's just kind of been an average tour player with a wedge or with an iron in his hand. And I think that's a bit concerning. So I think this is the one that could backfire the most. I don't think you'll have to have too much of him to be overweight in GPPs. We'll check the ownership on Wednesday in the live chat and see how everything's looking. But I just want to express the concern that I have for Rory McIlroy, just kind of as a whole. And we'll probably have to make a decision on him later in the week, likely on Wednesday. Tiger Woods, unfortunately, has been a staple in the fade department essentially this entire calendar year. I mean, he has shown almost no signs of life in the 2020 calendar year of anything that we would consider. And when it comes to DFS, he always gets that inflated ownership because people want to play him. They only get to play him a handful of times every year. He's going to get the defending champion boost, right? People are going to look at this, and there's going to be some percentage of casual fans that don't know where this tournament is being played, don't know where it was played last year, all that stuff. They're like, oh, he's the defending champion. Or they're going to look at his Sherwood history, and they're going to say, oh my God, he's won here 5 times, and he's finished second 5 times, not realizing that, yeah, that was a while ago. You know, that was within, the early 2000s. He was a different player then. They were 18-man fields. It's just completely different. He's losing strokes putting in 5 of his last 6 measured starts. His inability to hit fairways really hinders his best attribute, which is that iron game. So I'm going to need to see more from Tiger. I will be late to the party on him, but unfortunately, there has not been much to hang our hat on when it comes to Tiger Woods. And at, $9,000, I think he is on DraftKings, and he's 33-1 outright. I just think that's too expensive for the type of golfer that we have right now. Matthew Wolff. This is a tough one, and this is one where I really got to see what's going on Wednesday. So the live chat will be critical here. Matthew Wolff was an incredibly popular player last week. He was the highest owned player in the RickRunGood one and done. He was very popular on DraftKings. I know a lot of people bet him outright, and he just absolutely collapsed. I mean, from the jump, from round 1 Thursday at Shadow Creek, it was terrible. And he got a little bit better as the week went on, but he still finished like 73rd. He lost a ton of his strokes off the tee. He lost a ton of strokes around the green. He didn't putt well. He lost in all 4 categories, which honestly might be one of the few times in his career he's done that. But I think that there is some steam gaining for him because we're getting a lot of the reports already this week. He's kind of close to the area, right? His coach Gankus is from like right down the street. Apparently he used to caddy here. Like, I think there's a lot of inside information and a lot of good stuff going on for Matthew Wolff. I think a lot of people are going to go back to him. I'm a bit more concerned about it. He kind of looked like he was a little hampered with injury at times, walking gingerly last week. I'm not ready to as quickly forgive and forget, but this really is going to be an ownership play for me. Wednesday during the live chat, I'll take a peek and see what that projected ownership number is, and we'll make a final decision on Matthew Wolff. But very interested to see how many people are willing to just forgive that 73rd place finish last week and get right back at it. And then finally, Russell Henley. He's $8,100 on DraftKings. He's, I don't even know what he is, 55-1 to win the ZOZO Championship. And this to me just feels like a chase. I think I mentioned this maybe on the DFS video on Monday. He did his job for us last week. He was a core play for us. He was $7,100. He finished in a tie for third. Now he's $1,000 more expensive. Everyone is aware of the third place finish that he had because he touched the lead at one point. I mean, it's just like, game theory says, wait a week, see what happens next week. He probably plays in Houston or Bermuda, and it's going to be a much different situation. But like, I feel like this is just chasing more results from Russell Henley. So I have really nothing to knock his game. He played great. He putted well. The iron game was there as we expected it to be, but I'm not willing to pay the extra $1,000 on a guy who's only $7,100 last week, and he probably, doubles in ownership this week at the ZOZO Championship. So, Russ, love you. Thanks for last week. We will hang tight and catch you in the future. All right, there you go. Those are the 5 guys I'm considering staying away from for this week's ZOZO Championship. Let me know what you think. Tweet me at RickRunGood or leave a comment below. And of course, we can break all of this down and get into it more in depth on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time on the ZOZO Championship live chat, which you can find on the RickRunGood YouTube channel. Best of luck. Later.